Hello, and welcome back to the Wild Manifestations podcast. I'm your host, Heather Ione. I am a spiritual life coach and manifestation mentor, as I call it, from St. Petersburg, Florida. And in this podcast, I talk all about manifestation and the law of attraction, overcoming limiting beliefs and mental blocks that can prevent you from creating the life that you want, embodying different lifestyle and wellness practices to raise your vibration, doing deep self-discovery work to get in touch with your highest self and figure out your purpose, all of those things. I really just created this podcast to give you guys the tools and the insights that I found helpful and that I feel like are extremely helpful for other people too, to help you embody your highest self and realize that you are the deliberate creator of your life. And I just recorded two different podcast episodes before this one, all about the lessons I learned from my manifestation journey and the lessons that I want to share with you so that you can better have success with the law of attraction and manifestation. So you can make certain mindset shifts that can help you be more successful with it so that you can overcome different blocks that you might be having that are preventing you from manifesting the life that you want. All of these different tools and techniques and just little lessons that I've learned along the way that make the law of attraction practice so much more powerful. And I really attribute my success with the law of attraction to learning these lessons, because until I started to learn these lessons, I was not able to have success with the law of attraction. And I was just doing what I call manic manifesting. I would get really excited about the law of attraction, and then I would give up and I wouldn't learn the lessons that I needed to. And I would just stay stuck and I would never see the things that I actually wanted start to appear into my life. So I really attribute my success with manifestation to these lessons. So I recently created a list of 15 different lessons I learned on this manifestation journey, and this is part 3. So these are lessons 6 through 10 that I learned. I sort of jumped ahead and I recorded the last 3 lessons in part 2, or the last 5 lessons in part 2, because I was just so excited about them because I just finished writing them. So now I'm backtracking a little bit. I'm giving you guys part 3 of the lessons that I learned in my manifestation journey. And if you can just even take away a couple little nuggets from these podcast episodes, even if you don't remember every single thing that I talk about, it's still important to, even if you just take away one important lesson, because I know it's going to help you manifest too, and it's going to put you in the right direction. So if you want to go back and listen to those podcast episodes, they are super helpful. I also am going to be referencing a couple things that I talk about from those podcast episodes from now on. So make sure you listen to those, because it is just, this little series that I'm doing, this 3-part series, is just such high value content. It is so incredibly helpful that you just cannot miss it, because these are things that people typically do not tell you when it comes to using the law of attraction. People typically do not figure this stuff out. They don't write it in blogs. They don't talk about it on YouTube. It really takes experimenting with the law of attraction for like 10 years, like I did, before you start to realize, like, oh, I get it. The way I feel about myself does impact my ability to manifest. If I feel shame and guilt around feeling joy and pleasure, that's going to impact me in manifesting and all those types of things. So make sure you listen to this entire 3-part series. But for now, you guys, let's get into the podcast episode. So, the first lesson that I want to share with you today is kind of, it sort of goes against one of the other lessons that I talked about, that you need to have discipline in your manifestation practice. But still, I really think that this is important to understand too. These two do have a little balance. This lesson that I want to teach you right now is that you do not have to practice the law of attraction constantly in order for it to work for you. Now, I know I talked about how you need to have discipline in the practice. I talked about how there was a 4-month period in my life where I completely devoted all of my efforts to using the law of attraction and manifesting the life that I wanted. And it's because of that time in my life that I was able to manifest everything that I have now. I was able to manifest my dream life. So there is an element of you need to be somewhat disciplined in it. However, you do not need to practice the law of attraction constantly because a lot of people tend to think, okay, I need to do this all the time. I need to make a vision board every 3 months or every 6 months. I need to do a visualization practice every day. I need to do a gratitude journal every single day. And they sort of make it like this little mental checklist, as if like the universe is paying attention, like, ooh, did you do your gratitude practice today? And if they are not like super consistent in doing it every single day, and if they're not perfect in their manifestation efforts, then they are not going to be able to manifest what they want, which is totally not true. You can still manifest the life that you want even without being perfect, even without doing a visualization practice every single day or checking these little boxes. And even myself, I am somebody who is a strong believer in the law of attraction and manifestation, obviously, and I've seen so much success with it and I believe in it so deeply. Even I feel unmotivated to do my manifestation practice sometimes. And even I am not in that manifestation mindset mode sometimes. And sometimes my attention shifts onto something else. Sometimes I get super hardcore into doing my manifestation practice. Other times I get way more immersed in my spiritual practices and stuff like that, or a new hobby, or getting in shape, or whatever it may be. Sometimes my interests kind of change depending on what mood I'm in, depending on what phase I am. So that inspiration usually comes in waves. And sometimes I've spent a month or 2 months being super obsessed with manifestation. And then I might stop and I might start up again a little bit later. I'm not 100% perfect in it. I don't do it every single day. Now, the law of attraction does work better if you're consistent, but I just want you to get over that little feeling like I have to do a gratitude practice every single morning, or else I've basically ruined my chances at manifesting. That is not true. And I want to say this because I got asked a question a couple of times from people saying, Heather, how do you stay motivated to use manifestation? How do you stay motivated to do a visualization practice every single day? I just can't do it. I don't know. I can't keep up with it. And it kind of makes me laugh when I hear that question because I'm like, I don't. I'm not a perfect human being. Like I'm a human being just like you. I'm not perfect. I don't keep up with this every single day. Yes, I'm way more consistent with it than the average person, but I don't do this every single day because here's the thing. If you turn your manifestation practice into a chore and something that you have to do and just another box on your to-do list that you have to check off, you will not be able to manifest. You will not be able to manifest because it's something that you really don't want to be doing. You've made it a chore, you've made it a box on your to-do list, right? So you are not going to put the power, the energy, the faith into it that is required in order to have success with it. You're going to be doing it just to do it. But if you follow that urge that you have when you're feeling super motivated and super inspired and you're like, all right, I'm going to run with this. I'm going to get really involved in this for the next month or so. I'm going to really focus on my visualizations right now. If you allow yourself to play off of that and do it when it's enjoyable and exciting for you, then you're going to be in alignment. Then it's going to work. Then your manifestation practice, whichever one you're going to do, is a lot more powerful, a lot more amplified. So you're going to actually see success with it. And this is something that I had to learn because I used to think, okay, I have to do my gratitude practice every morning. I have to write down my 5 things and I have to visualize every single night before bed. And I have to do this and I have to do that. And whenever I wouldn't keep up with one of those things, I would think, oh, I didn't follow the rules. So I ruined my chances. And then I would just sort of completely fall off and just stop doing it altogether. So the important thing is really to make your manifestation practice work for your lifestyle and do it when you really feel like it, when you're really in alignment, when you feel like, okay, I want to do this right now, but do not make this a chore. Do not make this a to do. Do not make this a requirement, because if you do that, then you're probably going to be pushing away the thing that you want because you have this feeling as you're doing the visualizations or whatever it may be, like, oh, I really don't want to be doing this right now. I really want to be watching Netflix. I really want to be, reading a book or something like that. So you want to do it when you actually do want to do it. You don't want it to be something that you're forcing yourself to do, like going to the dentist or something like that, or emptying the dishwasher, going to the DMV. Your manifestation practice should never be something that you're dreading. So, the second lesson that I want to share with you today is that if you want to have success with the law of attraction, you have to imagine as if you already have the things that you want to have right now. You have to envision yourself seeing all of these things as if it were already happening around you. And the reason why I say this, and I know that it probably seems obvious, but there's a lot of visualization meditations that I've come across where people say, imagine yourself in 1 year, imagine yourself 6 months from now, and stuff like that. And there's different meditations that I've seen where it's constantly making you envision yourself in the future. But here's the thing, if you are envisioning yourself in the future, receiving the things that you want to receive, then it will always be in the future. You have to imagine that you are receiving those things right now. So when I was visualizing, like getting my dream car, for example, I imagined actually purchasing it or actually getting it or having it immediately show up in my driveway. When I was envisioning myself like getting a large unexpected check, I would imagine myself just receiving it. I wouldn't think about, okay, how did I receive this or anything? I would just imagine, okay, how would I feel right now if someone just handed me out of the blue this massive check with my name on it? And that's what you want to put yourself into. Also, when you're doing these different manifestation practices, you want to allow yourself to think, okay, this is happening to me right now. What would I be seeing? What would I be feeling? What are the physical sensations that would be happening? What am I wearing right now? You want to put yourself in that moment and make it so vivid as if it's already happening around you. Now, I also want to talk about the topic of deadlines. I've seen a lot of people use deadlines in their manifestation practice and say, okay, I want to manifest X amount of money by this time. And I've seen people have success with it. So having a deadline is a little bit different. However, I have not had success with deadlines in the past because I just feel like if I put a date on it, if I put a time on it for when I can manifest, when I'm supposed to have manifested that thing, then I just can't put the same amount of faith into the practice because I'm just like, I don't know. I don't really think it's going to get here by then. However, some people do have success with deadlines, so that's a little bit different. You really just have to figure out through playing with your manifestation practices what works best for you. But whichever way you choose, whether you choose to use a deadline or not use a deadline, make sure that you are putting yourself in that moment of receiving your manifestation practice as if it were happening at this very moment. So, the next lesson that I want to share with you today is that a lot of the material things that I received from the law of attraction in my life, I would say 90% of them, they just appeared into my life. And those were the things that were really shocking. And those were the things that I typically share about because it's something obvious and tangible and right in front of your face, right? All of a sudden, the dream car is there, the trip is there, the person is there. You are seeing it right in front of your eyes, and you can really notice the magic of it, right? So a lot of those material things that I wanted, they suddenly just appeared into my life without me having to really ask for it or work for it or pay for it or whatever it may be. However, the business stuff, the accomplishments, I did have to work for. And I share this because there's a lot of belief that, you don't have to take any action when it comes to using the law of attraction, that things will just suddenly drop into your life, right? But that's not always the case. Sometimes things work out super magically like that, where you're like, oh my gosh, this came to me out of nowhere. And sometimes you do actually have to put some work into it, right? So there is an element of where you need to actually take action for some things. You do actually have to work for some things because we do live in a physical world, in a physical dimension where you do have to act, you do have to do things in order to get stuff done. But that kind of leads me into my next lesson that I want to talk about right now, which is sometimes the law of attraction requires us to take aligned action. So, a lot of people make the mistake of not taking action on their dreams because they think that the universe is literally just going to hand it to them. They wait for their dreams to literally fall out of the sky and hit them in the face out of nowhere. And like I just said, sometimes they do, right? And I think that many of the things that sort of just appeared in my life and fell out of the sky like that happened to me in the beginning because I was also in college, I was broke, I was being supported by my parents. So a lot of the things that I received, it sort of made sense for it to come into my life from other people, but not so much now as an adult. Now I do have to be that person that takes action, that makes the transaction, right? And I say this because your dreams are not always going to slap you in the face. You do actually have to act upon them and you do have to take aligned action. So, what do I mean by taking aligned action? Aligned action, you really have that like gut feeling and you're like, I really want to do this. And sometimes it starts out really subtle. And after a while, it really starts to nag and it starts to drive you crazy. It's like a dream that you've had for a while that you've been just pushing in the back of your mind and you're like, whatever, I'll forget about it. I'll forget about it. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't allow myself to go there. So you keep suppressing it. And the more you suppress it, the louder and louder and louder it gets until all of a sudden you just can't ignore it anymore. So by taking aligned action, you're really just following what feels right for me. What is coming through? What should I be doing? What would make me happy? And you are allowing yourself to act upon those things rather than living in this state of fear and being like, no, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't go there. Or, the universe will bring it to me at the right time. There are certain times where you're actually going to have to take that aligned action and make it happen because the universe cannot do everything for you, right? So, this actually reminds me of the book and the movie Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know if you've read the book. I don't know if you've seen the movie with Julia Roberts, but I loved Eat, Pray, Love. And there's this little section in the book, and that they also read in the movie too. Julia Roberts is sort of like narrating it, that I really feel like highlights this point super well. So, I'm just going to read it off to you. I actually went and found the quote, found the section of the book so I can read it to you. And it says, there's a wonderful old Italian joke about a poor man who goes to church every day and prays before the statue of a great saint, begging, dear saint, please, please, please give me the grace to win the lottery. This goes on for months. Finally, the exasperated statue comes to life, looks down at the begging man, and says in weary disgust, my son, please, please, please buy a ticket. So, this is what I mean by taking aligned action. Sometimes you do actually have to, quote, buy the ticket. Sometimes you do actually have to take action. And that's something that a lot of people forget when they are using the law of attraction because they sort of they get overwhelmed by fear. So they're like, I'm just going to put this in the hands of the universe and it'll happen when it's meant to happen, right? And they're forgetting the most obvious step. They're forgetting that they have to take action, that they actually have to be that deliberate creator of their own life, right? They're forgetting, hey, if I've been trying to manifest that trip to France for the last 5 years and, I have the money for it, maybe I have to go on and buy the plane ticket. Maybe I have to look into hotels or Airbnbs. A lot of people forget that the universe could be giving you resources or time or different things that are required for you to make that manifestation happen. However, there is an element of you needing to complete it, you needing to take action. So, one of the examples in my life is that Matt and I have been talking about for years, literally ever since our very first date, we've been talking about how it is our dream to buy an RV or buy a school bus or a van or something and convert it and travel around the country, seeing all the different national parks, all these different cities and stuff like that. We literally talked about it on our first date. And I would actually talk to my ex-boyfriend about this because this was such a huge dream of mine and he wanted nothing to do with it. And I felt like, oh my God, this is never going to happen. I was just so sad, so depressed about it. And then Matt and I started dating, and that became a dream that we shared together. And that made me so happy. And we would always talk about, oh, someday we're going to buy that RV or convert a school bus or convert a van. Someday we're going to travel around the country, right? Someday, 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 someday. And then the pandemic happened and we were stuck in quarantine, which led us into this whole internet wormhole of looking at tiny houses and designing tiny houses just for the heck of it. And then that led us into school bus conversions. And that led us into watching all these different couples traveling around the United States in school buses that they converted and seeing all the national parks and going on all the famous hikes and yada, yada, yada. And we would watch this together during all of this free time during quarantine. And finally, it occurred to us, oh my gosh, we're sitting here looking at the TV saying, oh, someday we're going to do that. Someday we're going to do that, right? But we're not doing it. And it occurred to us, hey, if we want to make this dream come true, we have the money, we have the time right now. We actually could start doing this. We actually could take action. So during that time, during quarantine, we actually decided to start looking into school buses and we decided to start shopping around and planning out what would the school bus conversion look like, where would we want to go, stuff like that. Now, I have no idea the details of all of this. I have no idea when we're actually going to be done converting the school bus, right? I have no idea when we'll actually start traveling. I mean, it could be next year, it could be 5 years from now, it could be 10 years from now. I have no idea. All I know is that we want to do this and I don't know how it's going to work out. And so we just decided, okay, we have to take action. We're sitting on our asses saying that we want to do this, but we're not actually taking the free time and the money that we have in order to make that dream come true. And the universe is not going to drop a school bus down from the sky into our driveway and be like, here you go. You're welcome. That's not how it works. You do have to take aligned action sometimes. You have to take action in your life and take responsibility for your life. So I actually just shared an Instagram post about this yesterday, talking about, taking aligned action and finally taking that step and how it reminded me of that Shia LaBeouf video. You remember that video where he's in front of a green screen and he's like, just do it. Make your dreams happen. Don't let your dreams be dreams. And he's just screaming at the camera. He's like, yesterday you said tomorrow. He just goes on and on and on. It's so funny. So that's kind of the message I want to get across right now is that sometimes the universe is not going to fucking do everything for you. Sometimes you have to actually become the deliberate creator of your life and buy the ticket and buy the RV or whatever it may be. And what you'll actually notice is that once you do take that first step, once you do start to take aligned action, all of a sudden it sends a signal to the universe, hey, I'm ready. I'm serious about this. And then you'll notice that the outer world, that physical world around you all of the sudden starts to harmonize and work in your favor to then give you the next thing that would help you in this manifestation. So you'll notice that as soon as you take that action, all of a sudden things sort of start rolling and you sort of get into this state of flow. You see the synchronicities, you see the physical world harmonize around you and synchronize to bring you what you want. So it's so powerful to finally make that decision and finally take action in your life. And there's a quote in The Secret that kind of talks about this whole taking action piece too. And it was by Joe Vitale. I hope I'm saying his name right. But there's this quote that I always loved that he said in it. And he says, "Don't doubt when the opportunity is there, when the impulse is there, when the intuitive nudge from within is there, act. That's your job. That's all you have to do." And sometimes that requires us to do some internal work, right? Sometimes, in order for us to take that action, we really have to get over the fear. And I know that that is why a lot of people do not take aligned action in their life. It's not because they don't want to, it's because they're scared, right? They're scared of what other people will think. They're scared of disappointing their parents. They're scared of being different. They're scared of being judged, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what holds them back because they have this idea in their mind: I have to be this kind of person. I have to act this way in order to be liked, in order to be accepted by my friends, by my family. So that's really what holds people back. So sometimes you have to unravel that fear and get past that and, learn lessons. Like I was talking about in my last podcast episode, sometimes things happen in divine timing because you have to learn that lesson. You have to learn, hey, it is okay for me to be the person that I want to be. I do not have to fear this. I do not have to please other people. I came into this world to create the life that I wanted, to learn different life lessons, to fulfill my life's purpose. And it doesn't matter if my mom doesn't approve of this decision or whoever it may be, right? So sometimes it takes overcoming that fear. But as soon as you overcome all of those fears, everything that's holding you back, and you start to take aligned action, things actually start to move forward. Things actually start to happen for you. But you have to be brave in order for you to do that. So I know that that was kind of a tangent, but basically the point in this lesson is that you do have to take action in your life sometimes. Things will not always be magically handed to you on a gold platter. We live in a physical world, in a physical dimension where you do have to act upon things that you want in order to make them happen. Not all the times, but sometimes. So, the very last lesson that I want to share with you today, a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, is that you have to know you don't have to prove manifestation to other people. Once you start having success with the law of attraction, like me, you might be super eager to tell people about it. After I moved to Florida and started manifesting all of the things that I wanted, I was so elated. I was so happy. I was so shocked. I was the most fulfilled and happy I'd ever been in my life up to that point. It was just this incredible feeling. And it was so crazy because I found out how real it was. I was able to see from my own eyes, oh my gosh, this actually exists. This is not coincidence. This is not made up. This is not just some made up woo woo stuff that you see on YouTube. This is real. The law of attraction actually works. And it was so shocking, so surreal. And it made me so happy because I was like, oh my God, this is real. There is something bigger than myself out there. I can actually create the life that I want to. It was just such this incredible feeling that I wanted other people who I cared about to know about manifestation too. I wanted them to understand the power of it because I wanted them to be able to change their lives with it too, right? So I was trying to tell my family about it. I was trying to tell my best friend about it. I was sharing about it a little bit on Instagram. And what I noticed, I thought people would be super happy for me. I thought that people would be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's amazing. Tell me more, Heather. No, that's not what happened. I was met with a lot of judgment, a lot of criticism, a lot of eye rolls, and just sort of like this tone and look people would give me that I could tell they thought I was crazy. They were just like, oh my God, she's lost her mind. They did not believe me. They did not understand that I spent 4 months in this intense 2 hour long visualization meditation every single day, manifesting those exact same things out of the blue. They just didn't get it. They couldn't comprehend it. They didn't believe it. I was met with a lot of judgment, a lot of criticism. And for a while, I felt like I had to prove myself. One, I had to prove, like, hey, I'm not crazy. This is real. And I wanted to prove this to them because I wanted them to be able to witness the power of the law of attraction too. And it almost like hurt me and made me feel bad because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so incredibly powerful. I know this could help you. I know this could improve your life, but they were just not receptive to it. So I finally realized that it doesn't work that way. I cannot convince people that the law of attraction is real. And now I don't get offended. I don't get upset anymore because I know that this is something that people honestly have to learn for themselves. They have to go through it. They have to see it with their own eyes. They have to commit to it. They have to take responsibility for their own life in order to notice just how real the law of attraction is. And a lot of people are not ready to do that. A lot of people are not willing to go there, right? So now I don't get upset about it because I know that if someone just does not believe in it or they think I'm crazy, they're just not open to it right now. They're just not receptive to it. It's not real to them. It's not true to them. That they're just not on that wavelength. They're not in that place. It just has no relevancy to their life. So now I no longer feel like I have to prove this to other people. It is my mission to just educate people who want to learn about the law of attraction, who want to learn how to become the creator of their own life, who want to learn how to make more money, create their dream life, step into their power. It's my mission to educate those people and give them the tools and the insights that I have learned. But I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince somebody that my experience is true and like actually happened. That's a waste of time. And I know that I had to go through this myself too, right? Because when I was in middle school and when I was in high school, I always believed in manifestation and the law of attraction, but there still was a lot of doubt in my mind because it's hard to believe in something that you can't see, especially if you have no spiritual background like me. I didn't grow up in a religious or spiritual house by any means. So when I would hear people sharing their manifestation stories, I would be like, oh, well, you just worked hard for that, or, you just got lucky, or, well, yeah, of course that would work for you, but it's not going to work for me. And like, oh, well, of course you were able to manifest that because, you're popular and you're rich and like that's why you got what you wanted, or you have rich parents, or, well, you worked for it, or, well, it's just a coincidence or something like that. All of these little thoughts would kind of pop up into my mind. And I know that that's where a lot of other people come from too. I used to have that doubt and I used to think like, oh, well, of course that person got what they wanted. I like simplified it because I had no experience with the law of attraction and I didn't realize the truth and the power behind it. So now I know that a lot of other people are coming from that place and it doesn't offend me or upset me anymore if people don't believe in the law of attraction. I just don't waste my time like getting into arguments about it or anything like that. I'm just here to support people who want to learn about it. So I think that this is such an important lesson to share because I can guarantee you, once you have success with manifestation and the law of attraction, as much as you might believe in it right now, once you start to see it in your own life, it is shocking. It is crazy. It will evoke so much emotion in you. It will make you so happy. It will literally just shock you, even though you might have somehow like seen this coming in your mind's eye a little bit when you were doing your visualization practices. It will shock you how true it is, how real the law of attraction actually is. And once that happens, you're probably going to want to tell other people, like, hey, this is real. You're going to want to scream it from the rooftops like I did. But the thing is, people might not be receptive to it, right? So just know that you cannot prove manifestation to other people. They have to prove it to themselves. Just like I can't prove manifestation to you, you have to learn it for yourself in order to witness how real it is. So that is today's podcast episode. These are 5 more lessons that I have learned in my manifestation journey. I am sure that there will be many more lessons that I share as time goes on. I'm sure there are things I forgot to share right now as well. This was part 3 of my 3-part series on this podcast, sharing the lessons that I've learned with you. So if you haven't listened to those other 2, make sure to go back because there is some really profound lessons in there that could help you make little mindset shifts and help you on your manifestation journey. Before I close today, I just want to go over the lessons that I talked about in case you might have forgotten them. So, the first lesson that I shared with you today is that you do not have to practice the law of attraction constantly in order for it to work. You do not have to be a perfectionist in order to have success with the law of attraction. You can really just do this as you feel like it. There is a certain level of, okay, you have to be disciplined and commit to it, but that can look different for everybody, right? Some people, they really can commit to, okay, I'm going to do this like 3 days a week or something like that. Or I'm going to do a vision board like, the first of every month or, every 3 months or whatever. Everyone has a different take on it. For me, I just sort of honor my cycles and I honor whenever I feel really immersed in manifestation. I start to get obsessed with it again because I am just that type of person. I go into a wormhole like that. I will allow myself to dive into my visualizations head first and, do a deep dive into the world of manifestation and all that kind of stuff. And I allow myself to get really committed to it again for a month or 2. And honestly, like that is enough to like have enough manifestation power to manifest everything I want like all year. And that's what works for me. So you do not have to do this 365 days a year in order for it to work. If you fall off the wagon sometimes, if you forget to do your gratitude practice one day or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. The universe is not looking at your gratitude journal and being like, ooh, she didn't write in it yesterday. I'm going to take this away. The universe is not going to punish you for not showing up. I promise you that. The next lesson that I shared with you today is that you have to imagine everything that you want to manifest as if it's happening right now. You will not have success with it if you are constantly thinking, oh, 1 year from now, or 6 months from now, or 5 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever it may be. If you are envisioning yourself as this future self in the future receiving this thing, the universe is not going to give it to you now. It's almost going to be like it's perpetually putting it into the future. The universe recognizes that the you who receives this thing is the you 6 months from now or 1 year from now. And when you show up and do that visualization practice every night, constantly telling yourself next year, next year, next year, then it's always going to be next year. So when you do your visualizations, you want to make sure that you are imagining everything as if it's happening to you right now and you're not putting this out into the future somehow. The next lesson that I shared with you is that many of the material things that I manifested into my life, I did not have to work for, and those usually appeared without me having to do much. I might have to vocalize something from time to time, but they really just sort of appeared in my life, right? But things like, starting my business, all these different business like accomplishments or something like that, different goals that I have been able to manifest and receive, those I did have to take action on. So that kind of led me into number 4 in this lesson or in this episode today, where I talked about how sometimes the law of attraction requires you to take aligned action. Everything that you want is not going to suddenly like show up in your life, fall out of the sky, drop into your driveway, drop into your house, whatever it may be, because we do live in a physical world, right? We do have to take action in order to make things happen. So I talked about, that little story of the poor man who was begging to the statue of the saint every day, please, 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 please give me the grace to win the lottery. And the statue came to life and said, my son, please, please, please buy a ticket. So that was just a little lesson to remind you that there are times when you will have to take action in your life. You will have to buy the ticket. You will have to start the business. You will have to do the work. But once you do that, all of a sudden you'll start having more success, and all of a sudden you'll start manifesting. You'll start noticing all these synchronicities happening in your world around you because you signaled to the universe that you're serious. And now the universe can take that next step to start to harmonize other events to bring you what you want. So there are going to be times that you have to take aligned action. And the last lesson that I shared with you today is that you do not have to prove manifestation to other people. This is something that people have to witness the power of in their own life in order to believe it. So do not feel like it is your duty to convince other people about this, to prove that it's real, to get into arguments about this with your friends and try and constantly prove to them, no, I swear I was able to manifest this, and get into fights about like, oh, well, you worked hard for that, or it was a coincidence, or whatever it may be. I've been there. It does you no good. You are never going to convince those people because they have to learn about the law of attraction and come around to it on their own, right? So the last lesson I wanted to leave you with was just talk to people about manifestation who believe in it, who support you, who want to learn more about it, but do not feel like you have to prove it to other people. So that was today's podcast episode today. I hope that you found this helpful. I hope you took away some nuggets that are going to help you in your manifestation practice too, and certain lessons that maybe you needed to learn in order to start manifesting with better ease, manifesting a little bit quicker, anything like that. If you have any questions or comments or content ideas for me, please reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is heather.ione, IONE. You can also shoot me an email. My email is heather@heatherione.com. And if you ever feel like you need one-on-one support, one-on-one coaching from me, you can always reach out to me for coaching. I have several different coaching options available. I do single one-off sessions with people. I do 2-hour intensive sessions with people to help them, get past certain limiting beliefs that they might have, certain mental blocks that are really, really ingrained in there. And I also do regular coaching too. I have a 3-month coaching program called a New Beginnings coaching program where I work with people on a bi-weekly basis. And I do that so that I can work with you and really help you take those next steps, figure out the next action steps that you need to take in your life in order to become a deliberate creator in your life, or in order to overcome different limiting beliefs that you have, or in order to, put yourself in a higher frequency, in order to manifest with better ease, whatever it may be, whatever you are working on and hoping to get from coaching together. There's going to be 1 week where we do our coaching session and we talk about all those things. And then the next week is going to be a week of integration where we don't have a call that week, but you really just have a 2-week space to incorporate all these different practices and lessons in your life so that you can start to gain momentum and actually move forward rather than just stay stuck. So if that sounds like something that interests you, you can reach out to me on Instagram. You can reach out to me in my email or anything like that. I would love to work with you. I would love to support you throughout all of this. Anyways, that is today's podcast episode, you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode.